Welcome to another episode of Four Court Soccer Podcast for us, by us. Talking about intersection of black culture and soccer. Got your boy here, Greggo here. We are back and better than ever. We got Team Chocolate up in here. Again, it's me, Greggo here. With me tonight is a very tired, very stressed Yogi from Walking 90, River City. It took us about a week for us to get this episode up because, hey, last time we recorded, Henny Derby was before the Henny Derby. After the Henny Derby, we needed a minute.
Yeah. It's usually how it goes. It's like I have to remember. I think the reason why they put the Henny Derby where it was because I think Father's Day was that Sunday, and I'm so glad it was because I think I slept the entire day.
You ain't even got no kids, man. Like you didn't even go for the cake.
Yeah, my body didn't know that. I think I fell asleep doing like an F1 race and whatever golf tournament was on, and I was just knocked out, gone.
That's how I'm I think. Oh no, Sunday it didn't rain. Like Monday and Tuesday up there it rained, and it was just like okay, like I guess the gods that everybody prays to said, hey, the Henny Derby, we good. But once this shit, because it rained on Friday too, and then Monday and Tuesday it rained. I was like, dog, this is wild. But hey, at least it was good. It was nice. It will take that, man. The Henny Derby was amazing, man. But yeah, but how you doing, man?
Outside of that, man, I'm good, man. I think we're in the silly season of Euro fans questioning every transfer, so my phone is blowing up every 5 minutes from Twitter of what is Man United gonna do? What is Man United gonna do?
Can we get an owner first? We talked about this in the last episode. Until that gets squared away, what the fuck? And then it still sounds like the Glazers are bullshitting, so we're still in the middle of what the fuck.
Yeah, I think when I last checked it, I think the Athletic said that pretty much even if we get new orders tomorrow, no budget will be put in place to after the transfer window. So even if we get new orders now,
that's fine. As long as we can make. I don't think we need a whole lot of money to make the moves that we need to make for this season.
No,
for this offseason. We don't need a lot. We don't need to start spending a $500 million just because. But at least let's get that settled so that way we don't have to start, keep stressing as far as these bum ass Glazers and
I do think that is impacting a lot of because this squad is stuck at a crossroads. There's two ways you can go with every transfer. Because who did the video? Tifo did a really good video. Go watch their sensible transfers videos. They do one of every big club. But the guy was saying pretty much United's at a crossroads. If they decide to go for the 28 and up, it's you're winning the long term battle, the short term battle, but long term, those guys are going to be aged out, and you're going to need more money to replace them. So, do you want to win short term, or on the flip side, all right, go get some 23, 24, 22-year-old guys, bring them in. Yeah, results aren't going to be there. Trophies aren't going to be there maybe the first 2-3 years. But by the time they turn 26, the idea is...
I think we talked about that during the last episode as far as with Tyler Adams. It's somebody that you can, groom, to, eventually replace a guy like Casemiro. And by the time that Casemiro moves on, Tyler Adams is still 26, and he's and you got him for the next 6-7 years after that. So it's one of those things where like you said, it really depends on which way we go. But it's we need to at least be able to make a step forward and say, hey, we at least have this squared away. Let's go ahead and start putting the piece together. Because all this considered, this past season was a solid season, winning League Cup, making to the FA Cup final, making top 4. This was a very good first step under Ten Hag. Now it's a matter of, we need to go, now that we know where we are, we need to go ahead and say, okay, this is where you want to be for the next 2-3 years. So that way, we actually are able to challenge a team like Man City or even Arsenal with the moves that they're making now. Like that's where we are. But we'll get into that in quite a bit because the transfer moves. I mean, it's silly season. It's the best time of the year. But thank you guys for catching back up with us on your favorite podcast apps: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple. I am tripping, man.
First of all, sorry to everyone that's not a United fan that had to listen to like the first 5 minutes of that. Sorry.
You know what? Y'all are all right. Y'all, you know what? Because I mean, do you really want to talk about Chelsea? I mean, do you really want to talk about Spurs? I mean, even Real Madrid, it's like.
Can I tell you something? I'm low key like invested in Spurs this year because I'm interested to see how Postecoglou does at Spurs, and I'm really wanting to see if they're going to give him the keys to really rebuild and revamp that squad. Because that squad, honestly, it needed to be rebuilt after that Champions League final.
Yeah, I mean that was like 4 years ago now. Like, yeah, like that's the thing. Like
we're talking
they've needed to be replenished for a minute, and they never do. And that's the thing, that until they decide that, hey, we want to be a serious big boy team and actually let Harry Kane go, you're kind of stuck in just this like, hey, we might make top 4, we might make that 4th place, or we might be like 8th place and just hoping for the best.
So I might say something that's controversial, and I'm pretty sure there's some Spurs fans that listen to this, so let me know if I'm right or wrong on it. I don't think if you're Spurs, I don't think you push Kane out the door and be like, all right, we need you out so we can rebuild. I don't think you do that because I think that's dumb. I think what needs to happen there, especially, is you tell Kane, like, hey, look, we want you to stay. Pretty much make him believe in his head and make him feel like he's going to be Alisher 2.0, right? Like the Premier League goals record, you can stay here.
I hear that.
All this stuff, right? But you don't initiate. It's almost like what Ten Hag did with Harry Maguire last summer, where it was, I'm not going to force you out the door, right? I'm going to make you feel comfortable here. And if you decide to leave, then hey, you decide to leave. It's not like I pushed you out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing with Spurs, and I think they are a seriously big club. I just think the thing with Spurs is very much like, it's in their head, they're almost like, they're like the Clippers, where it was like everyone was expecting them to take that next step, and they was like, okay, we can do it. We got people that want to come here. Mm-hmm. We got the money. Let's go ahead and try it.
We got the stadium.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you go from Pochettino style, which is very intense, high up the field, to Mourinho. Then you go to Nuno. Then you bring in Antonio Conte. You bring in like a lot of short-term defensive managers who. But that's the thing.
Like they think that just bringing in a new manager is going to be the answer, and it's like, no. Like if you don't invest in your roster, 2 things happen. 1, people get complacent, and then 2nd, you risk not progressing as a team, because you see. Like, the thing about soccer in general is that things like form is fluid. It's super fluid. And the same team that might look like world beaters, 6 or 8 months ago, can suddenly look like trash, a year from now. I mean, like, shit, take Leicester, who went from, I think, 5th place last year to relegated in 1 year.
I made a comment on Twitter. I don't think anyone ever caught it, but it's pretty much one of my biggest what ifs. Like, you remember the 2020 season where we beat them on the last day to get in the Champions League?
Mm-hmm.
What if you flip it? What if United misses out on Champions League that year? They're stuck in Europa League again, right? Go through all that stuff. But Leicester goes to Champions League. The recruitment's a lot different.
Yeah.
That team is probably now in Europe 3 years in a row. Like, it's.
I mean, it changes a whole lot right away. And it's one of those things where if you're not keeping a close enough eye on where your roster is and where, you're being realistic as far as like where you are compared to everybody else, because of course everybody else is trying to improve weekly, daily, monthly, everything. And when you're not putting in the necessary resources to replenish your squad, eventually, like I said, either people get complacent, or you just watch teams pass you by, and that's basically what's happened here, where you see Newcastle pass them out of nowhere. Of course, they got new owners, so they haven't even really spent any money like that.
Honestly, their recruitment is like brilliant. Like they're they're doing a mixture of like Chelsea / Man City, where it's like, we know we got a lot of money, we're gonna buy the places we need them to, but we're gonna buy like guys that are here to build us, to make us competitive Champions League club for the next 3 years. Then the next 3 years is competitive Premier League team that can win the title. Then it's it's like stages.
The thing there is that, and I remember when Man City went through their takeover, and like they were getting guys like Adebayor, Samir Nasri, Robinho, like they weren't spending super high, but at the same time they were getting guys that like 2 or 3 years before then they would have never sniffed their way at all.
Yeah, no.
and they knew that, hey, like we gotta build this up to where once we are consistently a Champions League team, then we can start going after the top players in the world while they're in their prime, and not just looking for a quick bag real quick, and we can really start to push ourselves as far as where we are. And of course, it took a hot minute, but it eventually did lead to a Champions League. But I think the same thing with Newcastle, like they already had a half decent team, and they actually did invest in a very good coach, and now it's just a matter of, okay, like we got Champions League this coming year, so we definitely need to bring in some more depth. And then from there, it's like, okay, let's see, we get Champions League again. We get Champions League another year. They said, hopefully, like in another 2 or 3 years, we might be challenging Man City for the Premier League. And then from there, they're like, okay, now we're good. Keep in mind there, they still got to fix up Newcastle. Because Newcastle isn't exactly the sexiest city in the world. So, this is definitely a process.
I mean, Manchester ain't either, from what we're hearing. That's why a whole bunch
it's
of
not
London.
I mean, you could definitely make a strong argument that like England more or less is kind of like Virginia, where it's like you have one big city, maybe two, but then the rest of them are like, they're big for that area, but they're not really big cities.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's some like millionaires community that they all live in, or like. I mean,
London is so big. Like, for y'all that don't know, London is so big that they have literally 14 professional football teams, soccer teams in the city alone. And I think of that 14, I want to say at least 8 of them have stadiums that hold over 30,000. On top of that, they have 2 other stadiums that hold over 80,000. London is fucking massive.
Yeah.
And
my bad. We're not supposed to be talking about Europe. We're supposed to be talking about American stuff that's going on.
No. Like I said, like right now, European season's over. So like, hey, we it all bleeds over at the end of the day, because we're in. Like I said, we're in this weird period where obviously there's no European games being played.
Which is fine with me,
because I haven't really been watching much of shit, because I've been out of town on vacation. Like, the last thing I remember watching is probably the Henny Derby, and I was there. And, like I haven't watched the Gold Cup at all. I know the U.S. drew with your boys. I mean, hey, y'all were that close, man. Y'all were that close.
Yeah. I mean, matter of fact, let's go ahead and let's talk about it. So, yeah, Gold Cup's going on. For those who don't know, I know a lot of people a lot of U.S. soccer fans have been asking the question of, like, the Gold Cup doesn't matter. We're just sending our big B team. I need people to remember, like, this is only temporary. You're only going to have the Nations League and the Gold Cup in the same summer. This is the last year. It goes, I think it alternates.
Yeah, next year. Next year is the Nations League, and that's the one that actually serves as the qualifier for the Copa America later on in that summer.
Yeah, so it changes. So I need people to remember that. So you can't use the excuse like, "Oh, it's just our B team. We don't care about the Gold Cup."
But even with that, like, because we mentioned this a couple times, like, because of where this team is and where and what we still need to do as far as if we actually do want to progress, in 2026, we need more depth. And typically what happens after a World Cup is we typically call up our A squad for this first Gold Cup. Obviously, they already played for the Nations League, and all things said, like, we don't need them for this Gold Cup. Like, we need to start figuring out, like, okay, we know who our top 11 are, top 11 to maybe 15 players on the squad. We need to find out who those last 6, 7, 8 players, plus another probably 3 or 4 that can come in and seriously contribute if called upon. Like, not just take up a roster spot, but actually like, hey, if we need you, we need to be ready. And
hey, you know where some of those players are going to come from?
Where?
MLS.
I mean, it has to. Everybody has been in Europe just yet.
How it always goes. When, like, some people on Twitter was like, "Oh, we were just adding MLS players to it." It's like, dude, like, we are the only country that truly hates our own national league to have players in it.
I mean, I think that, of course, I can provide you with more than enough criticisms on MLS as well.
No, I'm saying there are some valid criticisms.
No, but at the same time, I think people are missing out on the fact that there actually are some very good players that are U.S. eligible in MLS right now that can contribute right now, and the intriguing thing there is that those players are getting younger.
Yeah, and
like you don't have to wait until they turn 27, 28 for them to finally, turn into something productive. Like, you're getting guys that are like, 18, 19, 20. They're like, hey, like they can do something right now. And
we're probably in phase 3 of the men's national team. Like, really, about also decade 3, but it's like phase 3. Like, the first phase was like Lexi Lawless.
I don't even go that far back. I go to the point when Klinsmann said our best players need to be playing in Europe.
No. I'm not saying. I'm saying like in like how the national team has been building.
Oh, like in the whole big picture, probably like phase 9 at this point. But
I'm just trying to make it simple. Like, this is probably like phase 3. This is the phase where like players like. I remember when I started becoming a national team, like the big thing was, oh, we have X and X player in the academy who's going to make it. Yeah. Right? You don't hear those conversations anymore.
Yeah, because the
X and X now is a legitimate starter at a big club. Like, I think the thing that we were talking about today, like Way again his move to Juve.
Yeah.
10 years ago, that's not something that we would ever be thinking about. Think about it.
Like an American player at Juventus? What?
Yeah. No, but think about it. Like, Tim Weah is maybe at best an above average fullback. Like an above average fullback, really. Mm-hmm. And the fact that now, like, we're talking about, like, if from line I'm dying. 10 years ago, that would have been like the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And now we're kind of just like, really? Like, you're gonna go there? Before, we would have been grasping straws if it was Sassuolo.
I mean, there is the part to it that, like, of course, right now Juve is kind of on a downswing because they've severely aged out for a lot of players.
The size of the club.
No, and that's the thing. Like, one, because of the size of the club, 10 years ago they would have been like, You want us to consider it an American player? Are you serious? And now it's like it's becoming so normalized now that you have teams like Chelsea and Juventus and Milan suddenly being like, you know what, we can do this now. We can work with this, and that's something that shows the growth of the program as a whole, because you do have guys that have been developed both here stateside as well as over in the with European clubs, and they're all starting to be like, okay, we got something here. Like, matter of fact, like I just saw a couple weeks ago, there's a kid out in Louisville City.
Joshua Wilder.
Yes, he just made a transfer over to Benfica, who's definitely known for their great development system. And I'm like, you're gonna start seeing him. Like right now, we're about to be loaded at center back pretty soon. But this is a great problem to have.
Like, everyone needs to have a kid so we can develop him to be a fullback, because we didn't have a fullback in the system for forever.
And you know what? We're gonna mess around. We're gonna with a whole bunch of crystal duns. Be like, hey, I'm really an attacker, but hey, I need speed, so you're gonna be out full. Yeah. That's what happened with Weah.
Yeah.
But to go back to actually, let's rewind back to the Henny Derby weekend, because that weekend was also the weekend of the Nations League finals.
Which is hilarious that it was.
And I would be remiss if we didn't talk about BJ Mourinho Callahan.
We are not calling this man Mourinho.
The janitor ran through Mexico and Canada. The janitor ran through both of them.
That's cool. We're not calling this man Mourinho. we're not doing that.
He better than Berhalter.
Hey, both of them have done the same thing. Both of them got a Nations League to their name. Credit to BJ, because honestly, I think even we criticized it, because we were kind of just like, interim to interim.
I definitely made it a point over that weekend I was like these guys are losing to the janitor, like, because Callahan's like the assistant of the assistant of the assistant, and he just suddenly fell into becoming an interim coach in time for the Nations League finals, and also he's the coach for the Gold Cup as well. And you literally led your A squad through, and I don't think they've ever beaten Mexico 3-0, ever.
Man, I will tell you this, like, I will give Greg credit for this. Like, it takes a hell of a coach to get like that USA squad to be that level of comfortable against Mexico. Granted, Mexico is bad. Like they are bad right now. They're in a bad place.
Struggle mode right now.
Right. But even when Mexico was having struggle modes, go back to 2014 World Cup where they almost missed out. They were still handling the US. Like, it won't like that. I've never seen USA look that comfortable against Mexico, to the point where I think it might have been the 60th minute, and I was like, I'm turning this game off. Like, this is done.
Yeah. if it wasn't for the fights that caused Weston McKennie and Serginho Dest to get red cards, which I would die on the hill that it's absolute bullshit that you had literally 6 guys surrounding McKennie.
Oh yeah, 100%.
His shirt gets ripped, but he's the one that gets the red card. Word.
Also, he's been choked twice by Mexico players, and they've never suspended anybody.
I made this point that night. I think that Weston McKennie is the bane in most Mexican fans, and probably the team itself. It's the bane of their existence right now, because he knows how to get under their skin in such a way.
He's in his villain origin arc, and I love it. I love Villain Weston.
Yes.
Villain Weston is the best Weston. Like, yes. We didn't get to see it at Leeds, because I think he was kind of just like, I think he was kind of checked out at Leeds at that point.
Yeah.
But when Weston is allowed to be a villain,
man, listen,
it's the best. Like, I'm telling you, man, I know people now are like, oh, like, because, you know, we got other midfielders coming over. It's like, oh, who from the MMA midfield is going to miss out? And people are saying West, and I'm like,
I mean, you know what? I understand that argument that could be made for McKinney because, I mean, again, we got plenty of options, but again, he has certain intangibles and the personality that you can't play without him. Oh, yeah. He is just that dude.
Yeah. He's your dog.
Yeah,
he's your dog.
And that was something that, you know, we talked about. Like, people were talking about, like, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, like when these guys were basically pups coming onto the national team. That, you know, at that point there wasn't any dogs. It's like, you know, you can't just be 17, 18, 19 years old and just automatically have that dog. Like, you got to go through shit.
Yeah.
and that personality ultimately comes out. And I'm pretty sure, you know, spending the last 2-3 years at Juventus, you know, probably getting beat up a whole lot in training and everything, learning from arguably the best team in Italy. It's like, yeah, you're going to learn some shit. Like, okay, I got this. And, you know, it's able to translate when you come over here, back over here stateside, you know, to play the national team. You're like, oh, we can do this. I got that smoke for you. And yeah, like he gets under their skin in a way that, you know, it's absolute art.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it.
But there was one other thing in all that. Of course, we just finally see the debut of Folarin Balogun, striker, Arsenal striker who's on loan from Rennes this past year, and even he had to say that, like, yeah, he was told that USA Mexico gets a little wild. He was like, nah, I wasn't quite ready for that.
I don't think anyone like. It was like kind of like what they tell you, like, about Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Mm-hmm. You're not ready for that game until you play in that game. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, man. Like, even though USA was dominating every aspect of the field, Mexico would be like, yo, we won the fight.
Yeah. And I bet you that's probably what the attitude is now. It's like, hey, we ain't go down like no punks, man. Like, you know, and right. But not yet. You kind of did. Because, again, Mourinho Callahan, you know, he managed to beat them. And then on top of all that, you know, in the final against Canada, a team that we got smoked by during qualifications, suddenly it's like we had no Adams, we had no McKinney, we had no Dest, and the breeziest 2-0 win I think I've seen in a long time. Because usually USA Canada games are like ugly or low scoring. There's a bunch of not shit happen, but it was like, oh, like you said, like about the Mexico game, like by the 60th minute, we're like, I think we're good here.
Yeah, you know, like honestly, man, I think that's more of an issue. That game was more of an issue with Canada because there's a lot of stuff that's going on with the Federation.
Yeah.
You know, players not getting paid, issues on the women's side and their side. So, and to be real, like a lot of that stuff affects play.
Oh yeah,
like, you know, it affects them. Because who was it today? I was listening to. It was a Total Soccer Show, and they were just talking about just like how in CONCACAF, like the reason why they invented the Nations League and things like that was to boost up the region as a whole. But in that whole conversation, like, it was hard for Canada to get players to really commit to the national team because when they won't get played, you're not playing meaningful games, things like that. And I think Canada is still in that infancy phase. Like, what they did during World Cup qualifying is great gravy. 3 teams qualified. We're one of them. You were one of them. Mexico's one of them. Also Costa Rica, we forget because they play like crap.
Right.
But when you look at what Canada is always like they just need depth. It is always going to be hard to like be a good offensive team, especially in CONCACAF when your best player is a fullback.
Right. I mean,
that's tough.
He's another Crystal Dunn he's a guy who started off as a forward, but then got moved back because obviously Bayern Munich is just that loaded, and it's like, hey, we got to put you somewhere. So
yeah, but honestly, that's probably the best spot for him. Like, yeah, it probably is the best spot for him.
But the thing about it, and I said as much on Twitter, on the FTC account yesterday on Monday. Again, Canada's going through a lot of money issues. It sounds like by the fall, they might be filing for bankruptcy protection. But here's the thing you have to understand. We're going through probably the greatest run in Canadian soccer history. Remember, we're still coming off the women winning gold in Tokyo 2 years ago. The men qualifying for their first World Cup since 1986. Also, keep in mind the president of CONCACAF is Canadian, and
I think now they got a stable Division I league.
Yeah, you get the Canadian Premier League. So, like right now, there's probably more money in theory that should be coming through the Canadian Federation than ever before.
Yeah.
So there's not much excuse right now for them to be like, yeah, we're broke. Yeah. And all I'm saying is CONCACAF isn't always the cleanest confederation. So somebody needs to start answering some questions as far as where's all this money going, because clearly you're succeeding on the pitch, but that success isn't reflecting over to the actual teams itself, and that's a huge problem.
Nope.
But
all right, what are we really supposed to be talking about? We've just been going on tangents and rants.
Oh no! What we should be talking about is how in the world did we end up back with Berhalter? Because
do you want to be logical about this, or you just want to make a bunch of jokes and just be like,
no, I think that I mean I could make jokes all day long.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we got to be logical.
But I think that we went from he's out probably 2 or 3 months ago. Of course, mind you, that was before Matt Crocker and Gooch came on board with the front office with U.S. Soccer. To mind you, we didn't even get a chance to even talk about how apparently the story was he was almost close to getting the job at Club America,
which would have been wild.
That would have been absolutely hilarious.
That would have been wild. Could you imagine Greg doing the middle of a Club America Chivas game?
I just want to hear him speak Spanish. That's all I want.
Oh no, that ain't happening. You gonna put that boy with a translator and make him say the most minimal things ever.
You're like, bueno, that's all I got for you.
See.
But no, like they first of all the story broke out, I guess, as the USA Mexico game was just starting the Thursday before last, that he was about to take the come back and get his job back. And to the point where, like, of course, when after the players, beat Mexico, they're getting asked questions about Berhalter. Of course, they're like, "What?
Yeah, but I'm sure they probably already knew. Like, there's no way.
Given the time frame of like the sequence of events, actually, I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew.
I don't.
They might have had an idea, but I don't think they knew. And of course, we might go into like how the player influence might have affected things, but I also think that clearly they didn't talk to everybody, and I'm wondering how that's going to play out going into the fall, because even though Berhalter has his job back, he's not coaching in the Gold Cup. They're still rolling with Mourinho Callahan.
Not calling that man Mourinho.
And I mean, hey, y'all scored out of him, so hey, maybe he's human after all. But no, like I think that my concern is this: he has shown you that he can do the minimum expectation. Get us qualified, get us through a group stage, and be one and done in knockout round.
2 trophies, can't forget that.
Yeah, but how important are those trophies in CONCACAF? I mean, Mexico wins them, and they end up in the same spot that we did.
So, me personally, I believe in context. Like, I think everything, like, not everything is the same as it is on paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Klinsmann won a Gold Cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was a USA team that was heavily favored to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a weaker CONCACAF.
Right.
Berhalter takes over this team during last summer, where all the talk was like, we got to show we can compete with Mexico. They're not kids anymore. They got to show that they can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Albeit like the style of play might not have been beautiful. Like, there's no point of arguing over that because hindsight is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But the results were you beat a Mexico team that was at that point reigning, like they were dominating CONCACAF, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the first one.
Right.
Then you go through the Gold Cup with a little bit more diminished A/B squad. And still get through and beat Mexico. Like, those are important times for that team because of where we were all like projecting that team to be. Because we've never seen that team come together like that because we were like, all right, these are kids. Like, they're young. This ain't the veteran USMNT squad.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, like where I fall into it, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was cool with Gregg Berhalter not getting the job back. Like after the World Cup, I'm not saying like. Also, another thing that really annoys me because I can tell people don't do their research; they just hear like opinion and run with it about like the two. Like, I don't believe in what was it called? Back-to-back 2-term managers for national teams, which makes no sense because people do realize that at least 40% of the teams at the World Cup had a manager from the previous World Cup. So you can't use that statistic and say, like, oh, it doesn't work. If that's your case for Gregg Berhalter, that's different.
I think in that regard, there's a couple things to keep in mind there. Because all in all, like if you go back to 2018, Didier Deschamps, he was a second cycle coach.
Yeah, second cycle.
2014, Yogi Low, he was a second cycle coach.
Senegal's head coach was second cycle. Coach,
so
Croatia.
It's not a foolproof argument. However,
that's my whole thing. I just don't like people using that as the basis of the argument because it's like
that's not one of those that I typically fall back on because I feel like you definitely have to. Look at like where your team is and see like, okay, like are we riding the right amount of momentum in order to get us to the next level? Like
Belgium, Belgium should have got rid of their head coach after the Euros last year.
Roberto Martinez.
But my fault.
I can see that. I can see that.
But my fault. Back to my point, I was saying like. I was cool with them letting Berhalter go. Even after this whole case thing, because I was just like, all right, me personally, I was just like, there's a lot of friction. It is just this obscene amount of like negativity around the national team.
Right.
I'm not saying like, I was one of those guys like, yo, Gregg did an above average job. Like, I cannot sit here and knock this man because you can't also move the goalposts, right? Like 2-3 years ago, we said when the failure to qualify, right? And when what's his name was the interim head coach for like the longest. I can't remember.
Sarakin,
he was. I guess he is a head coach. We all said that the main things were we want to be competitive in CONCACAF. We want to at least win a title in CONCACAF. We want to qualify for the World Cup, and we want to make it out the group stage. He did that. So I can't sit here and be like, oh, well, you play bad against Netherlands. This man played against Louis van Gaal. This man is a 13th level chess master.
Right, but here's the thing, though. If is your goal just to make it to the first knockout match and just lose, or do you have the expectation of actually getting past that game and possibly getting to the quarterfinals or possibly even semifinals at a World Cup where you're obviously hosting? And I think that in that regard, because of course, if you're playing like that against Louis van Gaal, it's not like the level of coaches, gets any easier as you move forward in the tournament. And that's where I'm like, even from an American coach perspective, I don't think he's the best coach for us in that regard.
No,
and I think that
usually the best coach never gets the job.
Yeah, but I think that like unlike Italy
honestly,
and
who would you say right now is probably the best Dutch coach? It's probably the guy at AZ Alkmaar.
Yeah. Actually, right now, there's a lot of good Dutch coaches right
That's
now.
That's what I'm saying. We totally forgot Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, I mean, even him. I mean, shit. Our guy Ruven Nistelrooy, like he won a cup in his first year. I'm like
right.
they crank out good coaches.
Right.
And
so it's usually never, like, I agree with your point. It's usually never the best quote unquote coach. And the way how Gregg got this job, we talked to that enough. Mm-hmm. It is what it is at this point. Nothing's going to change about it. I think the thing now.
What I would say in that regard, though, is that the ones that are attainable and at the top, I think they are attainable. As far as hey, we have this opportunity. We'd like to see what you can do here. Yeah. Now, granted, of course, I can understand there's an argument as far as staying where. For those coaches to stay where they're at. I mean, obviously you have guys like Brian Schmetzer who pretty much, I don't think he knows there's a life outside of Seattle.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever leaving Seattle.
But then you have a guy like Cherundolo in at LAFC where I'm like, yeah, he's a little young, but at the same time, so was the guy in Argentina, he just won a World Cup. So it's like you gotta.
So okay, let's say this.
Okay.
To me personally, I think there were only 4 realistic. I don't believe Mourinho and Pep were ever in it. I don't believe any of that. Or Nagelsmann. I don't believe any of that. Like, Twitter would really have you be thinking that Nagelsmann was considered the U.S. No, he wasn't.
We're broke, so
right. No. As Charlie Davis put it, it's the women's fault. We can't get a good head coach.
Charlie.
That man was struggling on that broadcast, man. At some point, I just wanted to be like, Charlie, shut up.
He was about to get that Lisa Simpson tap on the shoulder, like, son, let's go home.
Yeah. So I would say realistically, I'll go not 4. I'll go 3. Philadelphia's head coach, but I think he's holding out for Europe. Me personally. So I think there might have been interviews. There might have been a conversation.
Was boy Ernie's back over in Europe? So maybe.
Yeah, there might have been a conversation. What's your interest in the USMNT? I'm interested, but I'm not going to leave Philly mid-season because he feel like he can win something there. Yeah,
the timing of the World Cup and how it fell, that's honestly been a big hurdle as far as hiring. Even if we had still had Ernie and McBride, it still would have been a huge obstacle because you don't necessarily want to, unsettle a domestic team right as they're going into a new season. But at the same time, what do you do? But
yeah. And I mean, and then also you look at it. So he's one. I think we both agree. He was possibly one. And then 2, Jesse Marsch. Me personally, once again, I think there was a conversation had with Jesse. I think when Jesse didn't take the, what was it, Leicester? No, was it Leicester he was supposed to take?
Yeah.
No, it was Southampton. There were 2 jobs. No, he was supposed to take Southampton the first one because I remember the conversation with him supposed to go to Southampton. They were about to sign.
Yeah.
And I think when he didn't sign that, I think USMT swooped in and was like, hey, what you think? And I think that's why I'm like, I don't think that Berhalter was the plan. I think that suddenly they panicked and said, okay, all right, we'll do the job. 100%. I think also I think they were buying their time to see what the investigation was going to do, how the investigation was going to plan out. But I think in this time, I think they're talking. And then the third one I think is Vieira. I think that might have been. I think there was a good conversation there, but I think.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, because the report was earlier last week or week before last that Crocker and Gooch interviewed 10 plus coaches for the job. Here's the issue that I have here, especially when it comes to hiring Berhalter. Now, I can understand if you think that he's better than maybe 4, maybe 5 of the coaches that you interview, but you can't tell me there's 10 coaches that you sincerely considered for this job, and Berhalter was better than all of them.
I think what it came down to is I think Matt Crocker and Gooch and all of them, I think they had a certain criteria. And I think out of the 10 coaches, maybe let's say there was 5 categories, right? Like, let's just say the 5 are like dual nationals, tactics, availability, style of play, and like communication, right? Let's just say those are the 5. I think out of this 10, I think you might have had a bunch of coaches maybe hit 3 out of the 5, 2 out of the 5. I don't think you had a 5 out of 5 in everything. And I think at the end of the day, like, I think the only ones that were probably possible that came down to the bottom 3 were probably Marsh, Vieira, and Berhalter. And I think once the investigation cleared, I think they were just like, all right, we're cool going back to Gregg Berhalter. Now, I do not see why he's not here in the Gold Cup. I've heard the reasoning why he's not coaching the Gold Cup.
You know what? Like, I was listening to Best Ever Soccer Show last week in the aftermath, and like, of course, I didn't realize that the Gold Cup was starting pretty much the week after.
They
the timing of it actually does make kind of sense, but at the same time, you're talking about guys that at least half of that team's worked with Berhalter before, so I don't feel like their idea was that we're treating us as a new hire instead of the incumbent coming back. I'm like, no, he's the incumbent. Stop playing. Like, it's not like you're gonna come in like you're gonna see Berhalter with a bus and say, "Hey, I'm the new Berhalter." Like, no, it's not gonna work like that. So I don't think that there's if he's free and available, go ahead and use him. I mean, like he should at least. I don't see why, at the very least, he shouldn't be there on site with the team. But like, hey, because of course, you're talking about a team that, like we said earlier, they're trying to fight for spots 16 to 23, 24, 25, and you want to make your impression against the guy who's actually going to be making that decision going forward. So why would you not want that guy to be there in place? Like, that part doesn't add up.
Answer that question for you. For me, it doesn't. Like, once I don't have an issue with them rehiring Berhalter. Like, if the investigation came back clean, like, I'm putting like faith in, like, all right, they did a good investigation, it came back clean, rehire him. All right, cool. Like, I'm not at the table making a decision, so I'm not about to sit here and cry over it. But I don't see why not starting them now, because like you said, like, he can see there and say, like, all right, this is how this thing works. This is who I want to try. Because remember, we're playing friendlies in September, and then another set in November. And we're about to play a bunch of friendlies. So I guess there's also there's more time. And
there's more time, but at the same time, like, you're talking about guys who are trying to get on. They're trying to break through and be a part of that A squad. And
I think it also set that timetable of like, whenever we do hire a new head coach, it will be for the friendlies after the Gold Cup. So I guess like once they decided, like, I'm pretty sure, I don't think at that point they knew they were hiring Gregg Berhalter. I think it was just a thing of like,
guaranteed it didn't.
You think so? Because I remember that happened like early, maybe like May. You think they already knew?
No.
Okay.
I think that Berhalter played them with the Club America job, and then they said, okay, we don't want to lose our safety net in case anybody else says no.
But hey, like, low-key, like, on Gregg's part, that's hella smart.
Oh no, like he played this like as well as you possibly could, because the thing about it is obviously he's worked with his team for the last 3.5 years, and he knows what this team is about to going into this cycle as far as where they are career-wise. And so, like, 80% of the team is going into their prime years. So, just speaking off of ego, if I can do something with this team as they're going into their peak years, and I can be the coach that leads them to this, like, whether it be the Copa, possibly winning Copa America or taking the USA team deep in 2026. Yeah, that's all the ego strokes in the world is telling you, like, no, I'm not letting this team go. And I guarantee you that when the opportunity came about, he was like, nah. Because like even the story's already out there that like when apparently Club America was ready to offer him the job, and at the last minute he was like, no, let me talk to the USA team. I'll regret it if I don't. I bet you would. I bet you would, because he knows what this team's about to be. Because we're not about to have. We're about to have our deepest team ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah. And
we just need our goalkeepers to get to a club where they can start meaningful games.
Yeah, well, I did see Leicester. Looks like they're about to get Stefan,
which would be smart. Like,
yeah, honestly. I actually do like that move. I actually do like that move a lot.
I need Matt Turner to go on loan or be like, yo, Arsenal, I'm out.
That's always the tough thing, because you're playing for Arsenal, but if you're not starting, then the fuck, like it's a bizarre situation, like, because you want that nod as far as playing on like a top 4, top 6 team, but if all you're getting is like cup games, that only goes but so far. And
right, I hated that whole conversation. It was like, oh well, Zach Surfin's learning from Pep Guardiola every week, but he's not playing. That might be true, but at the same time, there's nothing that replaces actual game. No, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like,
and that's
I don't care who he learning from. Pep doesn't trust his man enough to play him.
I don't think it's the case of trust. Because they definitely played him like the year before last.
Yeah, true. I don't mean like trust him in terms of play. We'll trust him in terms of like, we gonna give him significant minutes.
Oh no, I mean, Ederson's that dude, so it's like, yeah, you're not playing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, whoever was advising Stefan to go to Man City, no, absolutely not. You will not see the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's a team where
you got to be already established to break through that 11.
No, it's not even that. Like, Man City is so rich that, okay, here's how I compare it. 15 million to Man City is like 30 million to Everton.
Bro,
they can replace you if you're just $15 million. It's not that big of a deal. And you have to think about that when, in case if you actually do get a chance to play and you don't perform, you're going to find your way out. Like, kind of like what happened to U.S. Agent, like and with Chelsea, like he cost Chelsea like 70 million, and he started out halfway decent, but then more competition came. You got hurt, and it's like, oh, we can replace you. That simple, and that's where you get those top teams. Like, you got to understand, like, you got to stay on top at all times. And like, shit, my creative player in FIFA tore his knee up, and within like 2 months they're like, nah, we're gonna let you go. I was like, bitch. But that's the thing. Like, the competition is so heavy that if you're not on your A game at all times, it's tough. It's real tough. And then in his case, they already had a number 1 in place, so it's like you're just basically, again, you're cup depth. That's it. That's really
once again, man. Whoever advised that man to go to Man City did not have his best interest at heart. They saw that.
I know it wasn't you, Ty. I know it wasn't you. Ty.
And whoever it was did not have that man's best interest at heart.
But nah, man. Like, it's. I will close out with this part as far as Berhalter, because when they had their press conference, the big thing that they were obviously asking about was he planning on talking to Gio Reyna anytime soon, and he was like, nah, I'm gonna let that come naturally and all that stuff. And I'm like, given how big of a blow up that became, I'm of the mindset of like actually being proactive there, because I'm like, if we're already, you know, good and clear by the time these friendlies come in September, then hey, you know, we can go ahead and be off to the races. Whereas you waiting and just being more reactive, I don't think that sets the right tone, because again, like how you said a minute ago, like as far as being evaluated on communication often sucks, and it's like if you do cross him, he ends up, you know, banishing from the team, because it's happened with multiple players. Like you got guys like John Brooks, Ricardo Pepi, Gio. I think there's one other guy that.
But hold on, Pepe was just one time. Like,
yeah, but that's the thing though. Like it came so late in the game that, like, is that something that's going to be held against him once Berhalter gets back?
That
and mind you, like, of course, a quick note on Pepe. I saw that he still the move to PSV. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
absolutely love that.
Yeah. About the Gio thing, man. I think, me personally, I think it was a little bit overblown. Like, I think people heard it and was just like, if they'd been kept like, just between them two, it would have been fun. Of course, you got the biggest helicopter appearance in the world, right? But also, like, the thing about it was, like, there was a whole investigation going on. Of course, he's not going to talk to Gio or anyone in the team at that moment, because there's an investigation. Like, there are legal ramifications. I think any smart lawyer will tell you, don't talk to him right now. So I think,
but even then, I think the issue that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way was that he was misleading as far as like saying that, yeah, Gio's hurt. And I'm like, you know, if there's something else, you know, try to be as forthcoming as you can without actually just feed people bullshit.
Yeah, but I think, like, at that point, I think as a coach, I think is at the World Cup, I think you're trying to have everything focused on the team. And you saw how like, even the team itself was just like, yo, we want Gregg back. Like, Gregg's our guy. We want him back. And I think at that point, I think it was all about just like, all right, there's a definite problem here. I'm just trying to push this to the side. Like, you've seen that from countless managers, like Jose Mourinho, who was it? Jurgen Klopp. You remember Jurgen started talking about the grass?
Yeah.
When they lost to Aston Villa?
Yeah.
So it's not just like a Gregg thing. It's like all these managers do it. I think that at that point, I think he was just trying to just like push the can down the road. Now, what I will say is this. I think this conversation with Gio will happen. Ricardo, like, I get it, his feeling, like Ricardo and Matt, I get it. Like, y'all feelings were hurt. He called y'all and said, like, hey, can I come in? Ricardo hung up the phone. I get it. You a 21-year-old kid. You think you should be going. I highly rate him. But you didn't get the call. Like, you didn't go. It's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. Show him why you deserve to be there, and you will be there.
And he's definitely done that.
And that's what I'm saying. He's doing it. Yeah. We got to think, like, Ricardo wasn't coming off the hottest here either, because he was struggling at Augsburg. That's how he ended up at the Netherlands. I can't remember the club. But that's how he ended up there, right? And
but he responded and actually turned that around, and to where he's
exactly
making a bigger move.
On momentum. So now Gregg don't have a reason to call Haji, right, and be like, "Hey Haji, I need you," right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. In the case of like Matt Biazga thinks like, oh, why is Walker Zimmerman going and not me? Well, because Matt Biazga, one, you're not a ball progressive center back, but also two, like, you didn't get the call. It's okay.
I mean, like, he wasn't informant, and one thing about Walker Zimmerman is that he bounced between two teams, between going from LAFC to Nashville SC, and brought up both of them. So, like, he honestly
did Walker Zimmerman's game, man.
He deserved that spot. I know
people want to give him stick because they're like, oh, he's an MLS center back. He should have gone to Europe. He's not good enough because he's not in Europe. Like,
I mean, all things considered, like, if nothing else, one thing that MLS can do is definitely make a good defender. Like, obviously, they don't get enough opportunity as far as attackers go, but as far as like the back half of the pitch, they're fine.
No, I'm not even saying that. But like, honestly, I need people to remember, like, these guys got families.
Yeah.
Kids in school. So it's like Walker Zimmerman is not about to uproot his whole family and be like, all right, guys, let's go to Germany.
I mean,
we're here to,
that life isn't for everybody.
No, it's not.
And
especially like when you married.
Yeah.
Like, I can't walk into my bedroom now and tell Electra, like, hey, I just got transferred to Vancouver. Let's go. Like, no, it ain't about to happen because we got family here. We got, all this stuff. So, yeah, like, people's family, like, it was something we were talking about River City in 93 about, like, I think it was in the offseason about, like, what players will possibly stay and go. We were like, it depends on what their family is like. Like, are they settled here? Are they single? Are they,
Yeah, I mean, like, once
that?
you get to a certain age and this point in your life, it's like, again, like, you might want to make that move, and it might even sound great for both your careers and especially your bank account. But again, it's not for everybody. And I do think that for him, like, I think he's pushing 30 right now. So it's like, he got a wife. I think he got like at least one kid. And yeah, if that's not the move for you, then, are you in a position where you could still stay on top of things in the meantime? And again, if one thing that MLS does well is make a good center back. So, because again, like you got him, you got Miles Robinson that's still playing lights out. Like I saw the stat of him against Mexico. Like, he fucking has Mexico in his fucking pocket.
Isn't he getting ready to move?
Well, he's in the last year of his deal. So, and he's already said that he's not signing a new deal during the season. So pretty much he's going to play it all the way through. Of course, he did get hurt against Mexico. So right now he's still.
I know we were just talking about guys not moving to Europe relating to get families, but no, he is someone I think.
I know he's single, and I know that he's definitely in the form to where he should be over it. Like, matter of fact, if it wasn't for him tearing up his Achilles, I think it'd already be over there. So yeah.
You know where I would love to see him go?
What's up?
I would love to see him at Hertha Berlin.
I can see that. I would love to see that. You know what? Bump Hertha. I'd like to see this at Dortmund. That's where I'd love to see him.
I don't know yet. I don't know if he's.
I think he is. I
don't know if he's Dortmund level yet.
I think he is. I've seen him way too often. Again, he was the one MLS guy that they felt they had no problem putting him up in with all the European guys. Say, hey, that's our guy. And
okay, let me ask you
this: if not for tearing up his Achilles, he's there and he's there at the World Cup, no problem.
So let me ask you this: I'm assuming that we want to see him in Germany, but if I throw this club out there, I want to see how you roll with it.
Okay.
Union Berlin, they're in the Champions League. They play a suitable football that helps them out. They're not relying on pace or speed.
Yeah.
And it's a place where if you overperform there, like, then Dortmund comes looking at you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're already more established at Dortmund with a better position than going straight into Dortmund, getting loaned out, and it's never working out.
So I think he's about to turn 26.
I just moved this man from the other side of Berlin to the one side.
I definitely understand at least the logic there. He's at like 26 is a funny age because it's like you want to try to make one or two more contracts before you kind of age out. And so, like, really, it all depends on like how quickly you adjust and perform. I think he's ready for Dortmund. I think he's that good, and that's even with the Achilles injury, which says a lot. I mean, you saw how Atlanta performed without him on Saturday. They got smoked by New York 4-0. So again, like,
I mean, he has
that.
I think Dortmund will be more favorable than playing him.
He has that much impact when he's not there. I mean, like, we saw what happened all last year. We've seen even this year when he's been missing. He is that. He's that level impact player. But I could definitely see Union. I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Just I'm moving them from one side of Berlin to the other.
But yeah, I was going to talk about the Women's World Cup roster. I think I'm going to hold that off till next week as we get closer to the Women's World Cup.
Get the experts on here. Get Sills and Tristan and all of them on here. Let the experts talk about it.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the experts, matter of fact, I need to get them a shout out. I'm not even going to wait for two up to now because what happened last week while we were on vacation, and I couldn't even really talk about it like that because my grandma's internet was on the fritz last Thursday. I'm not sure who started the GoFundMe for Shea Butter and Diaspora United, but holy shit!
Oh yeah, man. Honestly, look, real quick, shout out to them, man, because that's a testament to the work like they do. Like all of us do this. We would all love for like to go see our teams at the championship game and get to record it and be there live for a month. Like, and I remember, I think it was maybe like 6 months ago. I think I asked Sills like, "Yo, like, are you thinking about going?" She was like, "I don't know. Like, it costs a lot."
Yeah. Like getting out there is no joking. Like,
right. Honestly, man, like I'm happy for him, yo. They this isn't because it's some charity case or stuff like that, man. They 100% work for it. Like everything absolutely. They do, like they work for it. I'm still shocked that they are with. This is no offense to Ellen or anyone, but like I'm shocked they are still with us. Like I mean, at this point, I thought they would have been like CBS would have been swooped them up and been like, "Yo, we can get y'all set." And let
that's
y'all
a whole
rock.
Conversation in itself because I mean, obviously they're branching out a bit. You know, they have to deal with Black Rosie Media, and I think that we had the opportunity to be on a call with the United States Black Soccer Coaches group back on Monday on Juneteenth. Yeah, and I think it might be available to listen to. I'm not sure, but the last part of the call was focused on fan media, and obviously that's where I come in, and Shea Butter comes in, and obviously I talk about how how I kind of spotted Sky and Sills on Twitter and everything, and like I'll tell y'all what I said in the call again. If I do nothing else in this space, I'm good because I feel like what they've been able to do with their platform and take it to the heights that has gone to the point where you literally have people in a community invest over $30,000 to make sure that they get to the World Cup and also Diaspora United team. Like that's absolutely incredible. Yeah, and it goes to show you like one how strongly people feel about their platform and their place in the soccer media game, and then also I honestly think it's just how they fuck with the whole team. Sky, Sills, Nubia, Ebony, GA, Maya, like it's all there. It's all there. Yeah. And I could not be more happy for them. And I'm so glad that they're getting this opportunity. Because like you said, like a couple months ago, the want to was there, but the funds were like, I don't know.
Yeah, and, honestly, yeah, right. And well, man, I'm super excited for them, man. And like, I need people also to touch grass because you cannot use Jamaica's dumbass federation's ignorance for not paying for their women's World Cup team as a reason that they shouldn't go and enjoy it.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite keep up what was going on at that point.
The Jamaican Federation. And the Jamaican Federation, who I am, should do their part.
Yeah. I mean, it should not be in that position in the first place, but here we are. And if you think that Shea Butter or Diaspora United or us are gonna, not use that opportunity to be like, hey, make sure you show, if you can, give some love to the Jamaican team because they obviously need it. The women's team, they put in the work to qualify for the World Cup, and they're still getting shortchanged big time, even from 4 years ago. So it's something that is honestly it's just wild that we're even in this space, but here we are, and they need help too. So that's something that in this space we try to lift up as many people as we can. It's not just one group or one where you have to choose or whatever. Like if you have the resources to give as much as you can, do that. And
if you don't be a broke hater.
Yeah, please don't be a broke hater. That ain't the way. But with that being said, just a quick update on the Pride Teeth and Pride Teeth shirts. So I ran into a little bit of an issue while I was out of town. My hand press somehow has been fucking up. I think my hand press is about maybe 4 years old by now. It's served. It's done its service and everything, but I don't know if it's at the point where it might be going down. I don't know. Luckily, I still have my big boy heat press. So this week I'm catching up on orders and making sure that everybody gets their stuff out. Hopefully by the end of the week. Matter of fact, when I finish recording tonight, I'll probably get some done tonight. But do not let it deter you. Of course, we're still celebrating Pride 10th. Make sure you get your shirts at ftcutd.com/shop. Keep supporting us, and with every order, a portion of the proceeds goes towards Athlete Ally, as well as the Black Women's Players Collective. Again,
before we wrap up,
what's up?
We keep saying we're about to wrap up and be out of it, but this is the last thing. Shout out to April out at Fort Madison. Her kid just signed a 25-day contract.
Yeah, I saw that.
Madison. So that's dope. Like, your son is playing for your club. Like, that's what we all dream about, man.
Yeah.
Like, your son is literally about to wear your club's colors and play for them. So, shout out there. I know that's a very special and happy moment. I know how much work she's put in and he's put in to get to this moment, man. And even though they are our day one rivals, I will only say their name on special occasions.
Culture of everything, man.
Yeah, I will only say their name on special occasions. Outside of that, I will refer to them as the Pink Team. But yeah, man, shouts out to her and her son signing that. It's only 25 days, but I mean, those 25 days are probably like the greatest days of his life. Right?
Hey, you never know what that can turn into, and that's what's up. Even though April don't like me right now, I still love you, and I'm definitely happy about this for your son. But I know we've been kind of already getting the head start on the 2 up and 2 downs, but you got anything else you want to shout out?
I think I probably remember saying, I was like, Jamaica's FA is being stupid. April's kid. Jamaica's recruitment actually has been good, so I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and, I mean, like, all things considered, like, that 11 they had up against the U.S., I was like,
God
that
tier.
Might be a problem.
God tier. The only thing is, bro, if we could just find, like, a dual national midfielder that's competent, I'll be happy.
I'm pretty sure there's one in the U.S. somewhere.
I hope so. Did you hear about Raheem Sterling, our favorite non-Jamaican Jamaican?
I have not. What's up?
So there was a video going around of Raheem Sterling talking, I guess, some British TV or something about how in a parallel universe he would have played for Jamaica. And all I thought about was what had to go wrong. He talked about it. He literally said, like, I would have played for Jamaica, but the meetings with the Jamaica FA were so bad, I told my parents I'm not playing for them. And this is when he was 17 in Liverpool's academy. And he was literally like Yunus Musa. Like, you remember how it was like, oh, he can play here, can play here.
Yeah,
that's what it was. In Jamaica, mind you, we weren't even good at that point. We were in the running to have Raheem Sterling, and I'm just like, bro, I could have a front line of Raheem Sterling, Mikel Antonio, and Damari Gray, and Leon Bailey could be the attacking mid.
Oh, like, I will say this, and like, I do think that part of it is it all comes down to organization, and then two just comes down to like where the program is at that particular point. And like you said, like, you know, we're talking about like what 10, 12 years ago with Sterling. Like Jamaica was in a totally different place at that point. But you fast forward now, and if you had a Raheem Sterling coming up right now, and looking at where the program is, even with the money issues, you'd be like, I just might give this a chance. And I feel like, yeah, that's something that, like, even like with like how we recruit adult nats, I think that we have enough momentum right now that you kind of want to play for us if you have the opportunity to. I mean, like you saw, like, because it's not just Balogun. You have guys like Timothy Tillman, who just switched from Germany to the U.S. Obviously, you had Ricardo Pepi, who had the opportunity to play for Mexico, and about 4 other guys that Zendejas that just switched. And who's the guy in Brazil? Cardozo. He could have played for Brazil. Even though
who's the funniest dude national to me, and people don't realize it.
Who?
There's a parallel universe where Kellen Acosta is playing for the Japan national team.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious to me.
Yeah. It's all true.
Can you imagine that?
I'm still shocked that you saw a black guy play for Mexico the other night. I was like, whoa.
That was a brother, bro. Everyone was like, oh, he's Cuban. No, that's a black man.
See, that's black man. Like that's the same thing that happened with the homie from the World Baseball Classic, Randy Azarel. It's like, no, you know that's Randy Jenkins. Like, stop playing.
Right. That's a black man. It was like, oh no, like he's Cuban. I saw 2 pictures of that man. That man had locks, and he had a curly fro. Yeah. That's a black man.
But no, I think that again, it always comes down to organization. If you have that, that's half the battle, and we go from there. I guess that's all you have for 2 up to that. I did want to give just one quick shout out, because again, we already talked about Shea Butter and what they were able to do with the GoFundMe, and shout out to just the WOSO community and beyond for just coming through in that, because that was just absolutely insane. Also, the past couple of days, again, Shea Butter member Nubia carried out the Gotham torch on pregame on Sunday. The MLS All-Star kits came out. Our homegirl Maya, she was out there front and center with the modeling. I'm like, again, Shea Butter, this has like been a week of all weeks. So again, they're like the biggest up in the world. One last note, again, I was out all last week. Shout out to everybody in Richmond. I love being back home more than I used to, and I see the growth that Richmond's making. Still ain't got no new black shit, which annoys me to no end. But I see the growth.
Yeah.
I was also down in North Carolina, my hometown, Kinston, North Carolina, for my family reunion. I used to talk about this a whole lot in past episodes, but again, look after your people. Take care of your people. Probably about to go through some changes right now with my grandma, and it's a little scary and intimidating, but that's Granny. I would do anything for her. So I'm again, like the family came together, and we're hoping that we can get her down here pretty soon, because she's not doing too well on her own anymore. So looking forward to that probably by the end of the summer. But again, never too much to just call your people, whether it's a homie or family, and just say, hey, doing all right. Like I did that the other day with Ty, because I hadn't heard from him in a minute. I was like, hey, yo, you good? And it took him a minute all day to hit me back, but it happened. Again, those little things matter at the end of the day. So again, just just check on your people, look after your people, love on your people. It goes a long way. But that's all I got. I know, like, for it to be only 2 people this week, we definitely talked a long ass time. But I'm glad that hopefully y'all stuck with us the whole time. Look forward to more coming this week with the Gold Cup, whatever else that comes from MLS and USL. Of course, make sure you listen to Walker 90 to get the best out of League One action. Shea Butter, again, it's about to get so real with them right now. Dreaming of Freedom, they just changed up their formats a little bit, so check out what they're doing. I know they just had Coach Stacy on this past week. 2 Cents leading the way. Who else are we missing now? I feel like every time I try to do this breakdown, I always end up leaving somebody else, like I did with the Juneteenth flyer. But we ain't gonna talk about that. But yeah, of course. In the meantime, the conversation continues on the socials at FTC,
UTD,
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. FTC UTD Pod on TikTok. Again, the Pride shirts are still up at ftcutd.com/shop. Get your name sets as well. Shout out to Black Diamonds. I ain't forget about y'all. Got a New Jersey project that we're a part of. So if you order for them and you want your name sets, get it us. We got you. But until
also,
next week.
Guatemala has a black man on their team.
They should, I think.
No,
like, there's more black people in Central America than people think. But yeah, like I said, tomorrow, Jamaica, Trinidad. Like I said, we'll holler at that. Until then, coach is real. Coaches everywhere. Yo, it's summertime, y'all. I love Atlanta. I'll see y'all soon, and we out.
FTC UTD.